In this video, I want to have a look at surface crochet, which can be used to add details to our amigurumi projects. So in this Santa, I've used surface crochet for these black, white and yellow lines. And in this duck, the surface crochet is for the beak and the wings. Rather than making them separate and sewing them on, they're actually surface crocheted in place. So let's have a look at how to surface crochet. So the first method of surface crochet is when our project isn't yet closed. So because our project's open, we can get to the inside of it. So when that's the case, wherever you want to do your surface crochet, you're going to pop your hook in to the other side and you're going to grab your yarn and pull it up through that stitch. Now for this first example, we're just going to do a line of slip stitches to create a stripe on our project. So we're going to pop our hook through the next stitch along, grab that yarn from the inside and pull it up and straight through the hook, the loop that was already on our hook. And then we keep going down into the next one, grab that yarn, pull it through and straight through. And we can keep going to make the stripe as long as we'd like. So you can see our surface crocheted stripe just there. Now when you've finished, we're going to cut that off up here. So cutting off our yarn tail. And we're going to pull that through. And then we can weave in that end and weave in at the back to secure those as well. So we've got here now a basic straight line or a stripe in our surface crochet, and that was just made using slip stitches. Now we've done that again with the yarn coming from the inside of the project. If we're working with that method, it comes out very neat. If we then want to make something 3D, we would have to chain, turn our project and work back into those slip stitches to build something up with single crochets, half double crochets, stitches, whatever it is your pattern calls for. The other option to be able to do these straight away rather than making this stripe initially is to work from the outside of the project. Now you can do this even when it's open, or you can do this even after you've finished and stuffed your project as well. We are going to put our hook in through one stitch and out through another. Then we're going to grab our yarn and pull it through there. So that's how we're starting this time. And then we can chain one. Now to do our next stitch, we're going to go into the same stitch we've just come from, out the next one, yarn over and pull through. Now, if I wanted to do a single crochet, I can do that here. The next stitch, you go into the same one we've already come out of, back out, and you can keep doing whichever stitches you like in here. Now, the difference here is that you are going to get this extra piece of yarn here because when we go in and across and grab our yarn is pulling across there to reach our hook. So it doesn't quite come out as neat if we're making stripes. But if we're doing something a bit more complicated, it doesn't really matter. You don't notice so much because what we're making is a little bit more detailed. So for example, if I start making this a bit taller and do, for example, a double crochet stitch now, that one little extra line of yarn at the bottom isn't as noticeable there. So it depends what you're doing. Whether that little piece of yarn there is going to be noticeable or a problem for your project. And then we can just keep going along, going into the same one you've already got, up to the next one, and making whatever shapes you like. Once you've finished, you can cut off your yarn tail, pull it through, and weave in your ends. So again, that's having a look at surface crochet to add details, beaks, wings, dinosaur spikes, for example, or some really neat stripes on your project as well.